Hey everyone, we're here. Sorry about the delay. We had some problems here, but they are solved now. So let's get started. Let me just correct here because it's a little bit. Yeah, I think now it's better. All right. So first Q&A live from Denabal Tech, right? We've made some live videos before, I believe. uh, when we had some live events, right? Like special events from Apple. But that's actually the first time there's a Q&A, proper Q&A. So the way this is going to work is it's all free. We have super chats and all that. But since this is the first time, I'm not going to ask for any of that. And that's why I'm going to be looking at the side very often because I'm going to be taking a look at the comments because I'm actually going to answer your question. So I'm actually going to be looking at what you have to ask me about the Apple universe, about myself, any curiosities you may have. So I'll be taking a look here in the comment section and answering you guys. So since I know it generally takes a while for you guys to come in, right, to actually see the live chat, to actually see this live event. So it's going to take a few minutes actually for you guys to come in. What I'm going to do is actually answer some questions that I actually asked you guys on Instagram because not everyone knows, but there is Dan About Tech on Instagram, and I opened one of those question boxes, right, and asked you to make me questions. So then I have quite a few questions right here. So I'm going to start off answering those questions, which are from you guys as well, but from Instagram. And then, of course, I'm going to be answering the questions you asked me through the live chat, through the questions right here in this chat live, right? So since we already have one, as you can see right there, I'm going to start off with this question. So, are you Mexican? No, I'm not Mexican. I'm Brazilian. Sometimes I mention this in my videos, but not every single time. It doesn't actually pop up all the time, but I am Brazilian. I'm in Brazil. I live in Brazil, and I always record those videos in Brazil. I've always been doing that ever since we started off in 2009. So, yeah, this channel is over 15 years old, which is actually incredible. So, go ahead and ask me questions. I'm here. I'm here live, waiting for you to answer your questions. While you go ahead and ask me new stuff, I'm gonna go ahead and answer a few questions, as I mentioned, from you on Instagram, right? So let me actually go ahead and open up Instagram. There are actually quite a lot. So let's get started. Some of those questions are going to be in Portuguese, some of those questions in English, in other languages. But of course, I'm always going to be reading them in English, sorry, in English and answering in English, right? So one of the first questions here I got on Instagram says, will the new iPhone, the iPhone 16 Pro Max, come with AI like the S24 Ultra? And this is actually a very good question, and it actually has more to do with the operating system itself than to the device because it has been largely leaked, and by now we're pretty much sure already that iOS 18 will be a major software update, not like 17, 16, 15, and so on. And the big new thing about iOS 18 will be AI. So not necessarily just to edit photos, right, like you saw on Samsung S24, but more of an overhaul thing. Like it's going to be a huge thing. And Apple has been working on AI profoundly for a few years, actually. They bought many companies, they bought many AI companies, and the idea is to actually make iOS 18 based on AI. So many of the features that we use, like on notes and reminders and camera and everything, will have like an AI button or an AI feature built in. Okay, so this is a pretty impressive thing actually, and we expect iOS 18 to be a big iOS bump, right? A big leap, and AI is a huge part of that, right? It's common that we don't get many leaks on operating systems. We get a ton of leaks when there's a new iPhone, right? So when there's a new iPhone, we see everything before it's released. When it's an operating system, it's much more closed. The information is really well preserved, so then we don't get a lot of information. Okay, but you can expect AI, right? Moving on. let's go to another question right here from you on Instagram. Guys, please make sure to go ahead and ask me questions here on YouTube as well. As you can see, I'm doing this all live for you guys. Okay, so wireless charging. Is there a problem with wireless charging regarding battery life? And that's another very common question because many of you guys tend to think that wireless charging, either with MagSafe or other accessories from other brands, they're actually bad for your battery. It degrades your battery faster, and it's just really bad for the battery. And the thing is, that's just a myth. So if you use a good accessory from a reputable brand, from a well-known company, well-known manufacturer, you won't have any problems. Okay, this myth comes because wireless charging generally will heat up your iPhone a little bit. So it's super common that when you are wireless charging, you feel like your iPhone is heating up a little bit, and that's normal. And that overheating is not actually overheating as we are concerned, right? It doesn't necessarily create an excessive heat. It's just going to heat up a little bit more than your typical wire charging, but it's not going to degrade your iPhone battery in any way. And the iPhone can actually manage the temperature, the output of the electricity and the power and everything like that. So you don't have to worry about that. But of course, if you go ahead and buy a very, very cheap, bad quality wireless charger, maybe it will actually be bad for you just because it's a bad accessory, a bad product. But if you use a good product, don't need to worry about that. You can wireless charge, no problem. Okay, let's move on and let's take a look at other questions here on Instagram. Okay, so somebody asked me if they can change the song that's played on that memory feature on the iPhone when you're taking a look at your photos. So when you open up your photos, it's super common that it'll actually suggest you a memory, right? So show you some photos and when you were traveling or when you were with some kind of person and things like that. And yeah, you can change that. It's super simple. Actually, you just tap on the memory. It's gonna open up full screen. You tap on it once again, and then on the bottom left corner, you're gonna see a music icon. Tap there, and you can change on some presets, and you can choose some preset right there. Or on the other side, you can actually add any song that you wish. It's gonna bring up Apple Music. So you're gonna need to be an Apple Music subscriber for that. So if you aren't, then you're gonna need to stick with the presets. All right, but you can change. Somebody's talking about, say, when are you gonna buy Apple Vision Pro? Okay, Apple Vision Pro, that's a good one. The thing is, I was supposed to be using it right now, because just like I did with the iPhone 15 Pro Max, this iPhone right here, that I actually went to the United States, right? I flew to the US, bought it first day, and then created a ton of content. You saw it here on YouTube. I was going to do the exact same thing with Apple Vision Pro. So I was going to fly to the United States and get it like on day one. But I couldn't get it because it was sold out, and then I had to cancel my plane tickets. It was a mess, so then I couldn't do it, and then I decided to cancel the trip. Of course, there was no point, and then now I'm planning again when I'm gonna go ahead and go there and get the Apple Vision Pro. So that's a long answer. So short answer is soon. I will get it soon. I don't know yet, but we'll get it soon. But since I just missed day one, launch day, then I decided to wait a little bit more and actually feel if it was such a big deal or not. And of course, I'm going to talk more about that later on. Okay. Okay, I have questions here on Q&A, straight here on this live. So I lost my iPhone 14, my 14 Pro. What can I do, please? So the thing is, I have videos here on the channel exactly about this, on what you can do if you lose your iPhone, and pretty short answer is Find My. There is a specific app here on the iPhone called Find My. It comes pre-installed on every single iPhone, so you can just open it up from anybody else's iPhone if you have, right? A friend that has an iPhone, you can open it up. Or if you don't know anyone with an iPhone, you can go ahead and search your lost iPhone with any other device. So you can search for a lost iPhone on an Android phone, on a PC, on a Mac, or on another iPhone, just to be very clear. So you just need a device, any device. And then you'll be able to do it. You'll be able to track your lost iPhone using the Find My feature with that other device. And of course, it doesn't have to be yours. Okay, you don't necessarily need to have multiple devices. You can get an iPhone. You can get another phone from your parents, from your friends, from your wife, from no matter who. Okay, so as soon as you do that, and again, I have a tutorial on the channel, so make sure to go here on Dana About Tech and look it up. You can easily go ahead, open up Find My, either via the browser or via the app itself, log in with your Apple ID, and then you'll be able to track your lost iPhone. But the thing is, you really need to be careful with that, because sometimes the person who stole your iPhone, because sometimes you lost it, sometimes you got stolen, right? So maybe it's like bad people, it's a thief or something like that. So you gotta be careful, because sometimes I've seen many cases of people actually following their lost iPhone, getting there, and then getting into trouble. Keep in mind, somebody who stole your iPhone, it's not good people. So be careful with that. Sometimes it's better just to give that information to the police, all right? But you can track your lost iPhone, all right? Let's move on. We have a few more questions. So, what's the best gaming console? So, here on the channel, we don't focus too much on gaming, right? I have some content, but very, very like little content on this. But I've always been a PlayStation dude, right? I've had all of them, like PlayStation 1 and 2, like my dad gave it to me, right? Because I was a little kid. And then PlayStation 3 on, I bought it myself. So then I had PlayStation 1, 2, 3, 4, and now the 5. But I'm not really a game guy, like I don't really play games. Not on my iPhone, not on a console. I generally have them because, like it's part of the process, part of the work. So I'm always like, I have to be close to tech, right? And gaming is a huge part of that. But I myself am not a gamer. So I can't really explain you and give you further detail on what's the best console. But my recommendation here is pay attention to those exclusive games, that you have a ton of exclusive PlayStation games and exclusive Xbox games and things like that, and Nintendo games as well. And pay attention if those exclusive games, which ones are the ones you like most. And then I would say get the console that you have the most exclusive games that you like, that are closer to your taste, right? Because then the other games, they're going to work pretty much the same thing on Xbox or PC or on a PlayStation. So pay attention to the exclusive games, right? Now, let's move on. And let's see if we've got more questions. Apparently not, nothing useful at least. So let's move on. So Vision Pro here. I'm back on Instagram because there are no new answers, right? So let's take a look. So this follower has an iPhone 11 Pro, and the maximum capacity is at 75% of the battery, naturally. And then they're asking, should I replace my battery? And that's a very, very, very common question, when to replace the battery, right? And yeah, so Mason here on the chat was posting like very bad comments, but he realized that and deleted it right before I blocked him. So that's very good, because I was gonna block him forever and report him. So thank God he realized that and just deleted the whole thing. Great. So let's move on to the battery. So 75%, 70, yeah, 75%. Should I replace the battery? And the thing is, there is a recommendation, right? Which is when your iPhone reaches 80% on the maximum capacity, right? 80%, then you should replace your iPhone battery. All right. It's no rule, right? You can keep using your iPhone, no problem, when it reaches 80% on maximum capacity. But generally, when it reaches 80%, you're gonna get a banner, a little notice on your iPhone from Apple on your iPhone saying that you should replace. It'll say maintenance, so you should replace your iPhone battery. But you can still keep using it a little bit, but keep in mind that when it reaches 80% of maximum capacity, it's going to lose a lot on its performance, on its ability to do what it was designed to do, which is last long and sustain high peaks of processing power, right? So when it reaches 80% or lower, what it's going to do is actually your iPhone is just going to discharge faster. So your iPhone won't be able to retain so much battery, and you will start needing to recharge your iPhone multiple times a day. And you will see some unexpected shutdowns as well. So then, depending on what you're doing, depending on the apps you have, depending on the apps you're running on your iPhone, it's going to reach those peaks in performance, right? And then your battery won't be able to keep up anymore because it's degraded. And sometimes your iPhone will just shut down, or the app will just crash completely, right? So then you lose a ton of performance. So then that's why we recommend you to replace your battery when it reaches 80%, because that's when you're really supposed to do it, and then to avoid those very annoying things. But that's a very important thing. There's a very important thing you need to keep in mind, which is if you're already planning on replacing your whole iPhone, there's no point replacing the battery, right? The idea of replacing the battery is if you still want to keep your iPhone for at least one more year, so then replace the battery. If not, if you're already planning on ditching it or giving it away or being your backup device and you're planning on getting a new one, there's no point spending your money, right? Now, questions about the iPhone 16. Great. So it's surprisingly, there's surprisingly not a lot of data on the iPhone 16 that's actually real, by now, because generally when we're in February, we are pretty much halfway in the cycle, right? March is the halfway point because Apple releases a new iPhone every single year, right? So then when we're in March, you are halfway on that cycle, right? The iPhone, the current iPhone is 6 months old, and the new iPhone will be available in 6 months. So March is that midpoint. And the thing is, we are almost there, right? Almost in March, but we don't have a lot of data on the new iPhone just yet. Of course, there are a ton of rumors, a ton of leaks, but nothing that's very backed up. You don't have any of those very important, and there's a very safe like leak or rumor, so nothing special. But what I have to tell you guys is honestly, don't expect a lot from hardware unless Apple goes ahead and creates a foldable iPhone or something like that. So the iPhone form factor that we have now is exactly the same for the past 4 years, pretty much. So ever since Apple released the iPhone 10, and then next up they came up with the 10s Max, the big one, and let's think about the flagship, right? So think about the iPhone 10s Max, and then 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, which is now. So those are 5 generations of iPhones that are exactly the same. Okay, you're gonna say they're not the same. The design changed a little bit. It was rounded, then it's squared, then it was aluminum, and then it was stainless steel, and then now it's titanium. The sizes of the lenses, they grew up a little bit, but in the end of the day, it's the same thing. And I wouldn't expect anything different unless, as I said, Apple brings something really like innovative, like they did, like a foldable iPhone, as a matter of fact. So if the iPhone 16 is just like a slab, a phone like that, it's gonna be like that. But if Apple comes up with a foldable iPhone, then that's something we need to like look forward to, and that's gonna be new and things like that. But if not, the iPhone 16 will be pretty much like the iPhone 15, and we can expect changes, as I said, in the iOS. As I mentioned before in the beginning of this live stream, iOS 18 should be a big deal, but the iPhone 16, I don't expect anything new. All right. So Cam is asking, is it safe to charge iPhone while gaming or streaming, or will I have battery issues? That's a great question. So uh, the only thing you need to pay attention to and be careful with is overheating. So there's no problem like using your iPhone while you charge it. So the fact that you are charging your iPhone and using it at the same time, it's not a problem at all. But the problem is overheating. Generally, when we are using your iPhone and charging it at the same time, it will overheat because most fast chargers nowadays, they will overheat your iPhone just a little bit, right? Not too much. That's, as I said, that's okay. That temperature that you feel in your iPhone, that's normal, right? But when you're actually using your iPhone on top of that and demanding from the processor, demanding from the battery, the screen with high brightness and all that, generally, almost every single time, it'll get hotter than usual, than it would be if it was just charging, right? And then the overheating thing is the problem. But that's the thing. If you are in a very cold environment, if you have the AC on, right, super cold, or if you live in a very cold place, for example, and then you're using your iPhone while charging and you touch it and it's not getting hot, no problem. You can keep using it. If it's getting hot to the touch, you feel it's getting hot, and it's a feeling thing, right? Then stop using your iPhone and just charge it. Okay, that's a very important thing. But as I said, no problem at all with just using and charging at the same time. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead with my last question because we actually have a limited time today, and this is pretty much just a test here on the live, but I'm going to talk about that later on. But let me go ahead and answer one more. So let me get one here again from Instagram. So, how does an iPhone break even if I'm using a case? That's a good question as well. So, how will it break, right? You're using a case, super thick, super durable, that covers every single part of your iPhone. How can it actually break? And the thing is, there are many factors which will cause your iPhone to break. And many people think it's just something pointy or something hard hitting your iPhone, like that. And of course, that's the main reason why iPhones break. But it goes way beyond that. Sometimes what breaks your iPhone, front or back, is actually the frame of the iPhone. Okay, so this frame of the iPhone right here will actually dent a little bit, right? It will dent because of the crash, and then this indentation will actually puncture the glass, either here on the back or on the front. And this actually may cause your screen or back to break. And sometimes it's just the impact, the shock wave. So sometimes you may be using the strongest case, but if you drop it, and it's going to vary a lot on the height, on the surface, and which will absorb a lot of impact, if your case actually absorbs the impact and so on. So sometimes just the impact, just the shock will actually shatter your screen or your back. Of course, it's going to protect much more than if you were using nothing, but there is no way you are 100% safe on this. You can't say you're safe just because you're using a strong case. And the same goes with screen protectors. Even if you're wearing, if you're using a screen protector, your iPhone may break. Okay, this is very important. Okay, so we're pretty much done here on this live today. Um, we still have time for one more question. All right, one more question. So, uh, da, 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 da. Let's see what we've got. Of course, you guys can go ahead and ask here down below. As I told you, we still have a little bit of time, but I'm getting here from Instagram, as you just saw. So let's see. I got a ton of questions as well of people asking if they should uh, get a new iPhone now, or when is the best time to get a new iPhone, or what's the best iPhone today. And the thing is, that's a very tricky question because there's no correct answer for this. Because if you can, and that's the general question, the general answer, which is kind of frustrating, but if you can, always wait for the next one. Because since there will be a new iPhone every single year, if you can, always wait for the next one. So right now, you're planning on buying a new iPhone, but your iPhone is still good, wait 6 months. You're going to get an iPhone 16. And the same goes to the next one and to the next one. So I've always liked this argument because it kind of kills this this thing of we always have to consume, we always have to buy new iPhone, we always have to buy new products. And I like this way of thinking because no, you don't have to buy a new iPhone. You only need to buy a new iPhone if you really need one, if yours is broken, if yours has a problem. So then that's why you always should think this: only get a new iPhone if you need to, and then when you need to, you get the latest one. But of course, it's not only the latest one, right? It's not always the 15 Pro Max, for example. And that's why there's a video here on the channel with my iPhone buy guide. And this is super cool because I tell you by price range, what's the iPhone that I recommend. So the iPhone, for example, if you want to spend from $500 to $1,500. So sorry about that. I was thinking in Brazilian reais, right? So if you're planning on spending like $200 to $400, and then from $500 to 600, and then 600 to 800, and then 800 plus, right? So then depending on your budget, depending on how much you want to spend, what's the best iPhone? And then I don't remember exactly, but I think it was like base price, the cheapest iPhone you can get right now that I recommend, and then it would be like an iPhone SE 2. And then next level, and then it would be an iPhone 11. And then next level, it'll be an iPhone 13, and then so on until it gets to the iPhone 15 Pro Max. Super cool video that I do recommend that you take a look. Okay, so as I said, guys, that's pretty much it for today. Okay. Hopefully we're gonna get this going, right? It's the first one, it's the first live, it's the first Q&A. So even YouTube, right, is getting their algorithm ready, that this channel also does live stream and actually delivers to more people. Actually, there are more people coming right now to the live than before. So this is super nice because it means that more and more people will gather this live. And I'll think about doing this every 2 weeks, maybe every week, maybe every month. I'll think about that. But thanks a lot for watching, and I'm gonna see you guys in the next video as usual. All right? So let me actually go ahead and end this live stream. Thanks a lot, guys.